Hello, my fellow KW stakeholders. Of course, it's Aaron Kaufman, self-titled Chief Stakeholder Evangelist out of Atlanta, Georgia. And look, super excited today to talk to one of my favorite KW peeps and my brother from another mother, Ariel Rahmanov. How you doing, sir?
Hi, Aaron. How's it going? I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing well too, man. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world these days that you're very attached to. So I appreciate you taking some time out today to talk about something that we love very much, which is of course profit share and KW. And look, before we kind of get into how you're doing it and the class that you've developed around how you built your profit share and what your passion is. I want to introduce people to you and get a better sense of who you are. What's your background, how you made your way into Keller Williams, how you chose KW, who you selected as your sponsor, and then we'll just kind of go from there, man, and talk about your journey so far. All right?
Yeah, for sure. So I applied for my real estate license. Right before my second semester of college. I had that 1 month gap. So I'm from New York and Queens, and my first company I worked at was a rental brokerage company in Manhattan. I closed a few rentals during that summer. I stopped, went to finish my my college degree. I have a math major with a focus in actuarial science.
Nice.
So then my last semester of college, I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is not happening.
Right.
It doesn't fit my personality. I'm just gonna do something else. So I ended up working at a liquor store.
That says a lot about your personality.
Yeah. It was interesting because like my favorite pizza shop was like right across the street, and it's not a great combo having wine and pizza.
Yes.
But anyway, so ironically enough, the owner of that liquor store was also in real estate, and she had a friend who worked at KW.
Okay.
And she was like, hey, I'm an agent. We started talking about real estate, and then
Sure.
she mentioned she was an agent with KW. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then like I joined. I went to the office. I met with my TL at the time, and I saw God, family, and business on the wall, and like that hit me because I'm Jewish and I'm observant, and like that hit me on a religious level. I'm like, whoa,
Sure.
what does that mean? So then like I asked the TL, like, hey, what is it? I've never seen this before. Like I didn't know like we combine business and religion, faith, in the same, like, can you explain that? And she was like, yeah, basically like, our priorities, our values are God, then family, and then business. And we surround business with our two main priorities, which is, God and family.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, sign me up.
And let's be clear, Ariel, let's be clear, because, I'm not the most religious guy in the world. I always joke, I'm Jewish. Okay. Born Jewish. Obviously I'm not a practicing Jew, but, when I joined KW, I had a different perspective on that. Right. I was like, what do you mean God, family, business? Right. Like, I don't know if I necessarily want God to be involved in my real estate career. But I think the important thing that I learned, and I hope other people understand, is that when we say God, we're not talking about a specific God. We're talking about, look, what's important to you? How do you define God? What's spiritual to you? Because at the end of the day, when that why of God and family are big enough, the how of selling real estate is put into perspective, and is also obviously agents that are driven more by those two things versus just making money are going to be, hopefully more successful. So I just want to make sure not everybody sees God or defines God the same way, especially these days. But we want to be as inclusive as a company as we possibly can, and we want to make sure that people understand that it's how you define that. Correct? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure that hits people differently. I mean, hit me differently.
Totally.
That's one of the greatness about KW. We're very inclusive, and
exactly.
We value that. It's very important to us.
And that was important to you, right? That caught your attention. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And so then tell me from that point, what happened? Because you were in your early 20s, right? When you were
Yeah.
with this, yeah, and you still,
Yeah. So the challenge was, I grew up, in I grew up in Brooklyn for 12 years. I lived there for 12 years. Then I moved to Queens, and then I went to dorming school in Virginia.
okay,
So my sphere was very limited
yeah,
in New York. So and I'm fresh out of college, so like I had to build my business. So I'm like,
yeah,
well, how do I do that? So I just started calling for Selby owners,
that's
and
awesome.
then like it was difficult. After a couple of months, 2-3 months, I finally got the hang of it. And my very first listing was a FSBO.
That's awesome.
It's funny. I actually never met her. It was an estate deal.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, and she was like, yeah, you were very, you weren't aggressive, but you were assertive, but in the good way.
Nice.
And I was just following up with her for 6 months.
Yeah.
Just it's all in the follow up. And then over time, I had a few friends who reached out to me to sell their houses, and then my business grew, and and yeah, I mean that's kind of where I was at the time.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and here's another great thing about KW, and this is what I tell every new agent who comes in through the door. I tell them, first, that there's so much information, so you have to just take a deep breath and just relax and
The
and
fire hose. Yeah.
do the proper system, but also just keep in mind that there's so much more to KW than just your immediate market center.
Exactly.
And I say that because there are multiple levels of how to look at KW. There's like, all right, you and your own business,
Yep.
you and your market center, and you with KW as a whole,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So then I realized at the time that that there were around, because COVID ruined my business because we weren't allowed to cold call anymore
Yeah.
in New York. So I had to find a different way to build my business. So I realized at the time that we had 20 plus offices in Israel,
Mm.
and there are a lot of, it's a culture, to move back to Israel and
Sure.
move back to your
Sure.
homeland. And so I built a whole business, an international business. I partnered up with my business partner, Michael Horwitz, down in Florida, and we built a whole business through that. And I don't think I would have done that if I wasn't with KW.
Exactly. So these are like referral business to Israel, right? And back and
Yeah,
forth, right? People
yeah,
moving. Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
Very smart.
We,
Very
we
smart.
make our money on the referrals. We don't charge
Yeah.
them. And we realized at the time, it's amazing how it evolved. It wasn't just a real estate business. Oh, we're going to help you, refer you there and
Yeah.
sell your house here. It was also, we have to build a whole plan on how we can effectively transition across the country.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like
Full
if people have
service.
difficulties moving to a different state, imagine moving across, the
Exactly.
world, so.
So like a true concierge service, you and Michael built, right? For
It,
people that were going there and also coming back, which is amazing. And so that allowed you to kind of grow your business during the pandemic, right? And then you
yeah.
leveraging the Keller Williams network as, I mean, did you and Michael brand this within the KW ecosystem? And I think that's what we're talking about here is that, a lot of people don't understand when they join KW that you're part of a global real estate company of 200,000 stakeholders
Yeah.
that are vested in each other's success. And one of the guys that I interviewed a couple of weeks ago, Jay Gray, is very passionate about the idea of trying to send your out of state, out of country referrals to other Keller Williams associates because, we're all growing the same company. We're all fighting for the future of our industry, but you've been able to leverage that at a very high level. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Good.
And it's
Good.
still growing. It's still in its early stages,
That's great.
and we're growing. And there are people moving there like every year. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a stat.
Yeah.
Um,
Obviously. Yeah.
and that's what I mean by looking at KW as a whole.
Yeah.
As a greater system.
Well, that mindset and that experience, I'm guessing, sort of laid the foundation for some of these conversations that you started having with independent brokerages who are
Right.
who are who are at a disadvantage, right? I mean, especially in the moment of what's happening in our industry, right? I mean, an
Right.
independent brokerage is going to have a very difficult time competing with Keller Williams Associates in the fourth industrial revolution when we're building our own tech and we have the data and the insights of a 200,000 agent driven ecosystem. But before we jump into that, but you agree though, that sort of was an aha for you, right? Was realizing, hey, there's more to KW than just selling real estate or the four walls of my market center. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, the first step to me recognizing that there was more than just my immediate market center.
And talk about KWYP, right? I mean, you're the president of
No, Harjo Kaur is the president.
Okay.
But
in the New York region, you're in, what do you have a position with KWYP up there?
Yeah, I'm the VP.
Okay, so talk about how that experience has sort of shaped you and some of the benefits that have come out of that, and also speak to your fellow KWYPers who we know, just like I'm sure with everybody else in KW, a very small percentage of those people are being purposeful about profit share as well, right?
Yeah, so it's funny enough, the second step to me, building this mindset was KWYP. I went to KWYP, our little, room that we had in, in a family reunion, and I saw so many agents, so many individuals my age or younger, they do so much business.
Exactly.
And I'm like, damn, that's a lot of business. So I'm like, okay, if they're doing this much business, I may not be, not yet, the strongest, realtor, but I have other, strengths in different areas. And at the time I already had called so many, indies in my backyard. That's a story in its own. And I had one indie conversation, which we brought in, with the help of my leadership, of course. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I take this mindset and just expand it? And then the third step was taking your course. When I took your course, I'm like, oh my God, this all clicked, because it's not just about, all right, I have this mindset. I have to actually believe in KW.
Exactly.
And I
can't
speak to
that too, speak to that a little bit, because I always, people, people that have taken my class know it's a 3-hour class, right? We don't even talk about profit share to the last 10 minutes, right? And even though my class is not as much of a how-to, I always tell people, the how doesn't matter if the why is not big enough, right? And because look, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what you're doing with these independent brokerages, but you're in the kind of the beginning stages of this, and you haven't reaped the financial benefits yet of what the long term will be from what you've been able to do. So what's your mindset? I mean, so talk a little bit about how important it was to solidify not just your why around KW, but the why around KW when talking to other people and believing in that, and how important that is to you.
So for me, my why is, I owe a lot of gratitude to KW. I've said this many times. It as an individual, if we're not surrounded with, if we don't surround ourselves with the right people and the right community and the right, I guess, institution, it's difficult for us to grow as an individual.
Totally.
And for me, like my why, like KW has so much opportunities, not just for business. I think that's secondary, but for personal growth and development.
Absolutely.
And being surrounded with like-minded individuals who want to grow, that's a message that that I share with individuals, and they're kind of astonished. They're like, wow, I had a manager of a small brokerage in Nassau County here in New York, and I had a meeting with her. I just walked in the door and I'm like, hey, let's meet. And she invited me over for lunch the next day. So she was like, I honestly, it's so relieving to see someone so passionate about their company.
Yeah,
And when I heard that, I was like, you're saying this as a manager of a different company?
exactly. That's awesome. That's
What the
awesome.
heck is going? So then I realized at that moment that there are so many agents who are just not living their lives to the fullest potential.
Right. Totally.
And that right there was an opportunity that I saw to change
Yeah.
people's lives.
And by the way, that includes obviously a lot, a lot of Keller Williams agents too, right? I mean, how many Keller Williams agents take advantage of all the things that we have to offer, or even half of the things that we have to offer? I mean, these days it's hard enough to get them to come into the office, right? I mean, so after the pandemic, and it's like, look, if you don't want to come in the office, you're missing out on really what I believe is the number one reason to be a KW, which is our culture, our community. And I get it. It's easy to stay at home, after the pandemic. But I'm after the pandemic, man, I was running into the office and running into teaching
Yeah.
in person because that's what I was craving, right? That's what I was missing. And so at what point did you realize, like, okay, because when I talk to people about getting purposeful about profit share, I mean, I want them to be honest with themselves and say, look, what lead generation source is a fit for your personality, but more importantly, is really sustainable over time, right? And I always say, look, I'm not one of the best recruiters at KW. I'm just one of the most consistent. Okay. So what was it about the independent brokerages? Because look, a lot of people stay, especially our associates or agents, they stay away. They don't think they're capable of talking to an independent brokerage. They never owned a brokerage. They don't know what to say. I know you've developed a class. I want you to talk about that a little bit. But what was it about independent brokerages? I know you kind of laid a little bit of a foundation for that, but then how did you decide, okay, I'm going to get intentional about this? Because that's uncomfortable, walking into an independent brokerage and not really knowing the full conversation. That's kind of intimidating, man. So talk about, is it the same mindset of cold calling FISBOs? You just kind of trial and error and fail forward? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's picking up that first, it's picking up the phone and dialing that first
Yeah.
number,
Right.
So I guess just to give you a little bit of background of how
Please.
I got into it. I In my very own community, in my sphere, I lost, around $2.5 million in volume.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry.
I don't need that much money in life, but that would have, helped me survive for the year, just
Yeah.
survival money.
Totally. Totally.
And they were like, why would we use you? KW is not known. And frankly, it's a very close knit community. So
Sure.
they like to, I'm not even going to finish the sentence,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I was very, very angry. I'm like, these are people who I broke bread with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people who people who should be giving me business according to statistic,
Yeah.
like,
Totally. Totally.
what's going on over here? Um, so I go to my OP and I'm like, John Dibbs is my OP, and I'm like, John, we gotta, I'm angry here. We gotta do something. He's like, well, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I went back home, I thought about it. I'm like, all right, we just have to open up an office here. I mean,
Yeah.
so I'm like, all right, well, I guess what's the quickest and most efficient way to get an office without starting from scratch? It's just partnering up with an
That's
indie.
amazing. That's amazing. I didn't know that background. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. So the motivation was to increase Keller Williams' brand reputation and recognition, right? So that you could have a better foundation to build your business in that market from traditional people that don't understand how real estate really works, right?
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, that wasn't my immediate motivation. My motivation was like, what's the
Oh, it
biggest
makes
revenge?
Yeah, revenge. Gotcha. Hey, well, look, sometimes revenge can be very motivating, and I mean, look, I've had to deal with some of my propensities to get upset and angry, and I find that
Right.
sometimes that stuff can fuel my fire, but it only
Yeah.
lasts for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, finding the why from within that's not
Right.
tethered to revenge,
Yeah.
probably a little bit healthier of a mindset, but Hey,
but now for
yes.
sure. Now that I've grown from my
Well, of
youth.
course. And I appreciate you being honest, man. Look, it's
Yeah,
messy, man. I mean, I've been failing forward for a long time. I've made a lot of mistakes. People that follow me at KW, they don't have to look very far back in the feed of the Profiteer Mastermind group to see mistakes that I've made. But look, acknowledging that and committing to being better, obviously, is a part of the journey. Which, when you're in the journey, right, and you're getting killed, and it's hard to appreciate it. But I hope now that you're where you're at and still very young and obviously still in the journey, you appreciate looking back how that shaped who you are today and some of the
100%.
successes you've had. So, all right, so you went to your OP. You said, okay, what's the best way to do this? He said, basically finding an independent there, right, or a mega team to open up an office. So go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I probably call like 8 to 10 indies, and a lot of them told me to go F off,
Yeah. We'll talk about what your opening line is. What's your opening? So back then, I'm
So
sure.
yeah, back then,
Yeah.
I didn't really have one. It was more like I just called them like, hey, do you want to just join KW?
I mean, was that literally? I mean, did you call yourself? Did you say, "Hey,
Not yet. Not yet.
What was the first thing that came out of your mouth? Ring, ring. Hello. What would you say?
In the early stages, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I don't remember, because it definitely wasn't the script that I use now. I don't, I guess I was just winging it. I was like,
Yeah.
Hey, we're looking to break in the area. Do you want to, join us? And even and the word "join us," now I cringe when I say that, because it's kind of implying that we're better than them.
Right. Partnering ended up, I would assume, becoming more of the language that you would use,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
look, that's the beautiful thing about just picking up the phone and dialing, right? Every time you did it, and every no you got, kind of helped you figure out, okay, maybe I'll tweak it a little bit the next time, and over time, right? I mean, it's not like my first recruiting phone call was the scariest thing I ever did, but by the 100th one wasn't so scary, and I had learned how to kind of tweak it a little bit. So you started dialing, right, not having a lot of success, right, but for some reason continuing to be purposeful about it, right?
Yeah. So using that, whatever script I used at the time, I got like one indie appointment.
Amazing. That's probably more appointments than 199,999 KW associates have done. So look, I mean, that's a pretty good catch to get at least one. And so this one indie appointment, was that with you, or was that with you and your leadership?
That was with me and my leadership. Yeah.
Okay.
And it didn't end up working out.
Okay.
But then 2, 3, or 4 months later, we ended up our market center ended up joining with KW Core at the time, and then and this is still before your class. Then one day, just randomly, I go into my TL's office, and she was like, "Hey, there's this indie I've been trying to call, and why don't you give her a shot,
Wow.
So then I'm like, yeah, sure, why not,
Well, I mean, look, they obviously thought I mean, look, that says a lot about you, man, that your TL, this is your TL at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to trust I mean, how old are you now?
29.
So you were probably in your 25, whatever, 24.
I was 26 maybe.
I mean, dude, but think about how impressed your leadership must have been with you to give you. That doesn't happen often. I don't hear a lot of 26-year-olds, whatever, being offered the lead and independent brokerage leads. But that goes to show you, right? Like, unintended consequences, right? You started focusing on it. You weren't having a ton of success, but people were watching, right? And they were noticing, hey, this guy is purposeful about it. He's putting the work in. And your team leader obviously felt good enough. I mean, obviously they weren't having success maybe at that time, but they were like, hey, look, this kid's doing it. I'll give him a chance. And I just think that's a real testimony. There's a lot of things that have come out of my the opportunities that I never knew would happen for me, like my class and all the things that I've done. What started with just getting purposeful about profit share. And I always tell people, you want opportunities at KW, start building your downline, because you won't believe how many other doors will open. And even though you weren't having a lot of success, just focusing on that opened that door. So this team leader said, call this independent broker, which is amazing. Tell me what happened next.
Right. So this was the first time that I used something that worked. I said, hi, my name is Ariel. I'm the director of strategic partnerships.
I love it. I love it. Yes. I mean, look, Gary Keller answered the phone back in the day as, headquarters for Keller Williams Realty International, right? I mean, it was, he had the vision, right? So yeah. I love that you said that. I always call myself a talent acquisition specialist, right?
Yeah. And if I get permission from my OP.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, exactly. You got one chance to make a first impression, right? And it's not like you're lying.
And it's important.
You're self-titled, dude. I mean, go for it. Okay. So say that title again, what you said you were.
Yeah. So hi, my name is Ariel Rahmanov. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Growth for my Market Center.
I love that.
We're looking to break into your area. Are you opposed to having a conversation on what a partnership can look like?
That's amazing. That's amazing. That just sort of came out of your own brain, right?
Yeah, I'm sure I've pondered before I made the call, what would give me the best success. But and then when she said yes, I'm like, okay, now what?
Well, pick a time, right? Exactly. So
no, but I couldn't even think straight. I'm like, I'm not expecting a yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So then I run to my OP's office and I trip on the way. I'm like, John, just take the phone.
Yeah, it's amazing.
She said, yes, you have to do this now. Like, I don't.
That's great. That's great.
But then whatever. So then, long story short, 6 months later, they were negotiating for 6 months.
Well, let me stop you for a second. I don't want to go too fast here. So they John set up a meeting. Your TL set up a meeting. Did you attend that meeting?
No, I did not attend the meeting.
Did you want to attend that meeting? Were you asked to attend that meeting?
I did not attend. I didn't ask. I wasn't. In retrospect, I would have gone.
Yeah, well, it's just a learning experience, right? Watch a team leader have a consulting meeting with an indie, right? You could have learned a lot from that moment. But of course, you were just so elated about having the appointment, right? That was great. I'm just curious, though. Yeah. At that moment, how involved were you? But and so keep going. So 6 months later. They meet back and forth. Do they get them to a family reunion? Do they get to the mega camp? Was there any kind of, what was that process like for them to kind of woo them? I mean, at least from your perspective, did you see moments where they were brought into training events or anything like that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think it was more about, all right, well, how do we structure a deal where it benefits?
Right. There's more negotiations and stuff, right? Kind of going back and forth that way.
Yeah, which brings me to another important point about indies is broker owners. I find that they don't need to be wooed so much. It's more, they're very business oriented, and this is something we speak about in the class, and we dive deep into it. The difference between a broker owner versus your typical agent you're recruiting.
Yeah,
it's a mindset. It's a totally different mindset.
Totally.
I'm not saying that agents, don't have a business broker mindset. It's just different.
But you're dealing, I think, and look, I have had zero success with independent brokers. Not that I've even tried. So you're the expert in this conversation. So, but I would imagine, I'm guessing or asking you, one of the things I've kind of always heard from my perspective is that their biggest concern is more of an ego-driven thing, as far as like, am I going to lose my brand recognition?
Yes.
Am I going to lose this business that I've built? Right. So let's just go right into it, man. I mean, look, I want you to just start hammering. Look, talk about your class, talk about the mindset, but address me on that particular thing. All right.
Yeah. Before I do that, I
Yeah.
really do want to acknowledge, my leadership at KW Core, my OP,
Yeah.
and especially, my business partner, Michael Harris, because I've been on this journey with him since COVID. I met him at a QL course that Gary Keller taught over Zoom during COVID. And like a lot of the things that I'm doing now, I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah.
So
Michael's amazing for sure. And, he's a huge KW culture guy. We had a lot of conversations over the last 6 months to a year. So what a great guy to work with and to build a class with and to learn from. So yeah, love that guy.
Yeah, which brings me back to you have to have a relationship with the KW system as a whole.
Yeah, totally.
As a whole. And
so that independent, right? So that independent joined KW, correct?
Yes.
And so I want you to address the mindset we just talked about, but also I'm assuming you got the sponsorship.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want you to talk about how that played out too. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was very simple. I just told John, they're my downline, right? And he was like, yeah. I mean, it's a trust thing. It's not.
Yeah, of course.
There was only one person who, got the appointment, and it's almost like, it's not disputable. I mean, the only way that it wouldn't work is if there's a corruption within leadership, and that's a problem. So I don't believe that. I had so much trust for my leadership, and unless someone else is calling the same indie, I haven't seen any challenges with that yet. I'm not saying that there won't be.
Let me ask you, did you, I know when you first made the phone call and they said yes, it was like, fade out, run to the office, trip, and hand the lead off. But I was curious, did you ever ask questions like, did you get a sense there were some existing relationships with other KW people? There was none of that, right? So the great thing is that one phone call, one appointment, you were not that involved in any of the recruiting process after that, but you're in an amazing market center with a leadership that is going to honor the referral, right? And so that is what happened, right? They closed it, but you were obviously supported and protected. And all of a sudden, bam, this independent brokerage merges with KW, right? And how many agents did they have?
They had around 10, 11 agents.
Amazing. And so then they flipped their signs to KW, right? But powered by KW. Is that fair to say? Yeah. And then, so we're going so many different directions here. I'm sorry. I know we're both ADHD a little, at least I am. But before we get into your class, and I really want you to dive deep into that, did that end up, looking back in retrospect, help your real estate business when it came to, was that in a market that you were trying to get into, or was that just an indie that, I know the team leader gave you that lead, so it wasn't the same sort of mindset that got you calling indies originally? That was in a different market than Queens or wherever you were trying to build your
it was a different area.
Okay. So moving forward, let's talk about what's happened since then and what you've learned and what you're teaching and what you and Michael are doing. All right.
Right. Yeah. So then I took your course. All right. We spoke about that. Then, then because we joined, and in my mind, this helped me a lot because we joined with several other market centers.
Yeah.
Like we had a lot of territory. So there were 3 OPs, in that world. And then I started again going to the system as a whole. I'm like, all right, well, how can I increase my, my downline? And at the time, it was also profit share. It was, and I started calling for, other, offices also. And I spoke to Linda Chen, and I got an office for her. I got an office for her.
So did she give you the contact, or did you just go right after it in the first place?
So I have access to Brokerages. Like I was able to get Brokerages on my laptop because I've been doing
amazing. Yeah.
So I just download. I divided by territories, and I just make a list of all the indies in the territory, and I just call.
So you called around Linda's Market Center there, and you got her an appointment with Lindy. Yeah.
It's interesting. A lot of using the script, a lot of people can't say no to the script. But they say yes, but they may not necessarily honor the meaning.
Sure. No, I get that. But a yes is better than a no, right?
Yeah, because the script is structured in a way where if they say no, it's either they're illogical or they're just being emotional and they're ego driven.
All right. So what's the script, dude?
All right. Let's role play.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Ring. Hello. This is Aaron Kaufman at Aaron Kaufman Realty. How can I help you?
Hey, what's going on? My name is Ariel Rahmanov. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Growth for KWYP in the New York region. By the way, thank you for taking my call. I know you must be very busy. Do you have a quick minute?
Sure, man. What can I do for you?
Yeah, so I've noticed you're doing a lot of business. You own a brokerage firm in the area, and KW is looking to break into the area. Would you be opposed to having a conversation with us and seeing if there's an opportunity where we can partner up, assuming there's a win-win-win, a win for you, a win for your agents, and a win for us? Would you be opposed to having a conversation and seeing what that could look like?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. Sure. No, I mean that, and look, we can keep going with that. I don't want to give you a bunch of negative responses, but man, that is great and slick. And so you're seeing, most of them are at least saying yes, but some of them are then canceling that appointment, right? But do you then follow up? You got them on a follow-up campaign, right? Things like that.
So yeah. I need to be more systematized. I do. That's one of my challenges, which I'm working on.
Yeah.
I do. I do, text them periodically. I call them just to check up on them. And, there was an indie who we've been speaking with for almost a year, and during that time frame, she speaks Russian, and I don't speak it fluently. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Here's a referral, just take it, you service them. But I'm like, and I'm like, you know what, just take it for free, just like,
oh, wow.
Whatever, because again, like I'm thinking about the long term.
Absolutely.
I don't like the 25% isn't going to change my life right now.
Yeah.
But getting that firm that have around 25 to 30 agents doing $40 to $60 million in volume. Yeah. And in an area that I really want.
Totally.
That to me, that's worth it. So I
think you would probably get the same. I mean, that's an amazing thing you're doing. Although I would say, at least from my opinion, and I haven't sold a house since 2005, so who am I to say anything about anything real estate related? But you probably could have gotten the referral fee, okay, True. And still been looked at like, wow, this guy who's a KW guy is giving me a referral. So I'm just saying, in the future, you ain't Mr. Moneybags yet. Yes, I love that you're playing the long game, but next time ask for maybe a 20% referral.
Right. Yeah.
At least, be able to pay your electric bill. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. So.
And I know you're not
it reminds me of a scene. Have you ever watched Suits?
Suits, I haven't. No, I mean, I've seen a couple episodes of it. I know everybody loves it. Yeah.
It reminds me of a scene or whatever. So then she actually texted me right after that. She was like, yeah, can we talk?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
So then
touche. So that worked perfectly. Yeah.
It worked exactly how I predicted human nature would work.
Yeah. Now, do you ever think about making one of your follow-up touches, getting them to family reunion or mega camp or to a big training event? Yeah.
Sure.
Have you had any success with that? Getting somebody to one of those events?
Actually, funny enough, no. It's funny that I haven't had success.
Well, I think that should be. I mean, obviously, I would imagine. Look, every market center is independently owned and operated, but I would imagine KW Core has a handful of mega camp and family reunion tickets for choice recruits. And so I would be. I mean, look, there's no greater recruiting tool than to get an independent. The family reunion to see what it's like to be at an interdependent real estate company, right?
So here's a challenge that I've been facing. We do offer it to them, but they always have excuses. Oh, we can't make it,
Of course.
You know, like we're just running big business. We can't take away from it. And I'm like, yeah, that's where you need to go. But
well, maybe a baby step would be a local training event
yeah.
where you've got some major trainer coming through, right? Like that could be a follow-up touch to everybody. Like, hey, this is not a recruiting event. All right. This is about, raising the bar for our industry. And we've got, so-and-so, coming through, James Shaw, Cody Gibson, whatever. Maybe that you get them to one of these local events, they see how amazing that is. Then the next jump to family reunion or mega camp is not so scary,
Yeah.
So at what point, so you got that one indie, and then the one that you sent to Linda, you got as well.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So the phone call, so like I said, you'll have people just hang up on you immediately. And those are the people I don't even want to call back because, So she, I left her a voicemail actually because she didn't answer. Then she called me back. She was, assertive.
Yeah,
she was
totally.
Like, don't call me, whatever. And I'm like, wait, just to clarify, even if there's a win-win-win scenario, you wouldn't be interested, just to see what that could look like.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I guess, and and I also don't want you guys recruiting my agents. So
yes. Right. Now that's interesting though. That's an interesting perspective. I mean, that's true, right? It's almost like a shot across the bow. Like, hey, your company's on our radar. We would love to partner with you. But they think, oh, they're coming in and they're going to recruit my agents, knowing that, a handful of them are probably going to go to KW, right? Because it's a better opportunity for them, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I've always, as a person, I've always felt, taking away someone else's business.
Yeah.
And in this case, it would be taking away the broker's business by taking away their agents. Like, in my opinion, like, if you don't reach out to the broker first and offer them an opportunity, I feel a little odd.
No, I think that's a great point. And if you don't, you're probably not going to have the chance to get them to merge with us or partner with us after trying to take their own recruits.
So if they say no way, there's no way in hell we're going to merge with you, and they know that it could benefit them, their agents, then I go after the agents because I know that their broker is really not there for their agents, and I need to do what's best for the agent. So then I feel good, and not only do I feel justified in doing it, I feel like I'm obligated to do it for the
That's
agent.
a great mindset. That's a great mindset. And let's get real. It's not. They shouldn't be scared of Keller Williams taking their agents. They should be scared of the industry taking their agents or losing their agents from the industry because they can't compete with companies like KW and our agents, right? So, and I love how you say that, man, because really, and I always, I think that's something that's not talked about a lot is that really, I think at the end of the day, even though that there's an ego aspect to these independent brokerages and that they want to make sure that they're preserving their brand. And I want you to talk about that sort of objection. All right. But you got to feel like they have relationships with their agents that they have been in business with and that they care about. And I would imagine that's another sort of conversation, which is what's the best decision for your agents too, right? It's not just about what's best for you and your business. What's the best thing for the agents that you've been in business with for a long, long time and who you care about? Speak to those things, if you would.
Yeah. So I'll start with the first point about the brand. There was this, it's funny, I actually got this referral from, I walked into my friend's, accounting firm. They do real estate accounting.
Yeah.
So, I met his, coworker, and he was like, oh, it's funny. Like, I have this friend, and I don't present myself as an agent. I'm like, I'm the director of strategic partnerships and growth, and this is what I do.
I love it.
And she was like, oh wow, maybe my friend is actually thinking about selling his real estate business in Brooklyn.
Wow.
I'm like, interesting. Tell me more. Okay. Then so then long story short, we had a meeting with them. They emailed me saying we are ready to. This was like after a few meetings.
Yeah.
And this was our mistake. They were these ones who spoke to the agents instead of we speaking
Yes.
with
Yes.
them with
Interesting.
their agents. That's
Interesting.
a huge mistake. And now they're a rental company, so they use the excuse, oh, we can't join in the summer because that's
Yeah.
the hot, the rental market. And in retrospect, and their agents were having difficulties because they didn't want to ruin what they had.
Yeah.
So whatever. So now we're rebuilding that relationship.
Interesting. Interesting. So
And
you would have done that differently, right? By saying, "Hey, we would love to bring your whole brokerage in for a meeting so we can talk about what this potential partnership looks like for them
yeah,
and how it's a win-win-win for
yeah.
everybody."
In
Yeah.
contrast to the firm that we brought in for Linda, because it was Linda, Brian, the TL at the time.
Yeah.
And it took within the month we got them all.
Yeah.
Within the month.
Yeah.
We went to their market, we went to their office, and we had a meeting with all of their agents. They only had like five agents.
Yeah.
And they were blown away, like, wow, we loved it because we presented it.
That's great. That's a great point, man. That's a great point. So we're still rebuilding that relationship.
Yeah.
That
Oh, we're
trust
not letting them go. We're not
Yeah.
letting them go.
Yeah.
If they email us, like, yeah, we want to join.
Yeah.
Like, we know we have them. It's just, we have to figure this minor part out.
Okay, so talk about like how, the ego aspect of the brand and how you handle that objection or, and that mindset, because I'm assuming that's whether they talk about it or not, it's something that they're thinking in the back of their mind, like I'm losing my business or my identity that I've built, right?
Right.
For so long.
So with this company that I got on the phone with from Brooklyn, from my friend's coworker, the accountant, the first thing I said was, I want you to know that without your brand, there is no reason for us to partner up with you. Because if you built your business, that's how you're making money. It doesn't make sense from the business perspective to take away your brand like other companies do.
Yeah.
So is your brand
and reputation.
It's your brand, which is a reputation, and you're just using us as a platform.
Love that.
To excel your business.
And so you're saying that before they're even that's coming out of your mouth right off the bat. Right. I love that.
And I approach them with respect. I approach them with, as equals, because it's an ego thing. It's like they built their baby. It's their baby. It's their business. It's their baby. They want it to grow and see it thrive. And if you come in, you should join us. That's like they built their own business. Why would they join you?
Right.
Did partner with you and be curious what that can look like. And my goal over the phone is to get in the door. That's my goal.
Right. I mean, and look, it's not about you're doing it wrong or that, being an independent brokerage is gonna, is not gonna work in the future. It's more about there could be a better way, like you said. What if there was a win-win-win scenario, and that way they at least go to the next step of the conversation, which is, hey, let me show you how partnering with KW really can make it a win for you, your agents, and for us, right? But if you don't get to that point because you're bouncing off of their ego, right, or they think you're telling them they're doing it wrong, right? Just like a FSBO, right? Like, I mean, it's the same way with you have to help them self-discover, right? You have to help them self-discover. Yeah. So okay, so I love that line. So let's talk about now this class that you and Michael are teaching and developing and tweaking and talk about, just some of the concepts and goals of what you guys are trying to accomplish with that.
Yeah. So, I spoke with Michael yesterday and he wrote something up. And this is one class out of a series of 6 classes.
Yeah. Love it.
And during my journey, I recognized that it's not just about getting in the door with the indie.
Of course.
And, it's also about how do you retain the indie?
Yeah, I love that.
I'll be honest, we're on the verge of possibly losing an indie.
Yeah.
Because of of our we need, every market center needs to grow. Like there's no such thing as, oh, you reached a peak. So
Sure.
there are certain systems that needs to be tweaked in order so that we can effectively retain them. And so what I've discovered was this can't just be about, and this is Michael, and I, we speak about this a lot. This can't just be about getting in the door, because once you get in the door, well, now what?
Exactly.
So the rest of the course is, okay, what can we do to retain them and keep the promise and everboard them? So he said, although this course is about building relationships with indie brokers, it really is about mergers and acquisitions. And in today's real estate industry, they are likely to accelerate. One of the challenges is that 80% of mergers and acquisitions fail. This course will help you to set the foundation and put you in a position to have successful outcomes where there is a win for the independent brokerage, a win for the agents, and a win for you.
Yeah. I love
so
that.
The first course is, yes, we teach you the script. We teach you the mindset. We literally take apart the script and analyze it and reconstruct it in a way where we can, understand it effectively. That's in a nutshell, the first class. And we taught this course to the New England region in person, and using our script, they scheduled 13 indie appointments in 30 minutes.
And what's the name of this class, the first class?
The name of this class is Maximizing Your Outreach and How to Effectively hold on a minute.
It's okay.
It's maximizing your outreach, something brokerage. I sent it to you.
No, I posted in the look. The point is, right? That you got a lot of stuff going on. It's got a long title. Look, when it's a KW effect, it's easy to remember. Okay.
Yeah. But, how to stand out and reach real estate brokerages. That's what it is.
I love that. And look, the fact is, could you have ever imagined, right? That, I mean, looking back, right, like how it's developing, right? How it's becoming even more than what you could have ever imagined from a class standpoint. So the fact is, you taught it in New England region, right, to leadership. Okay. You're this like KWYP young gun agent, but they're looking at you and they're applying your scripts and booking appointments. You said with 13 indies they got out of that class.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
It's funny. We first taught it in New York, and this is why I love business, and I love the journey and sharing my journey with everyone. Because when we first taught it in person, we didn't incorporate the cold calling in that first class.
Right.
And the feedback that we got was, you should incorporate this.
Yeah. So they were doing live calls. They were doing live calls. Leadership was doing live calls. Yeah. That's amazing.
Live calls. It's like in Bold, you do live calls. So, but and at the same time, there was an ATL. Now she's a team leader. At a market center in New York. She texted me like 2 nights later. She was like, Ariel, she called me at like 8 p.m. She was like, Ariel, I gotta say, I've been using your script, and I scheduled like a couple appointments already.
Amazing.
And now she has, I think, like 7 to 10 in her pipipeline. She's being purposeful and calling indies like once a week.
Incredible.
And she wants to set appointments once a week. She has, I think, 7 to 10 in her pipeline, and she's on the verge of partnering up with 2 of them.
That's amazing.
And we taught this July 31st. So.
Yeah, people need to understand that the independent brokerages is probably the hottest growth sector for KW, right? Because, obviously, if you understand the big picture of what's happening in the industry, right, it's the independents that are going to need what we have to offer now more than ever, because they're getting hit on both sides, from Wall Street backed tech disruptors and from companies like KW that are building their own tech, right? Like, how are they going to deliver the same experience, right, and price offer that we can offer or that Zillow can offer, right? So they have to make a decision, right? And so that's why everyone's focused on independence and why it's such a huge growth sector for KW. And I'm just curious, I love the fact that you guys really have now talked about how do you keep them, right? But what is the biggest challenge that you're facing, or that KW is facing, for keeping an independent brokerage, outside of the fact that every KW office is independently owned and operated, and not everyone is having the same experiences, but from an ecosystem or from a mindset standpoint as a whole, where's the biggest challenge for keeping an independent brokerage in business with KW?
So okay, so I have to be careful because I
know you do. That's why
I'm
I set
not
it up that way.
yeah, because no, I love the question, and frankly, I can just share with you from what I've observed in my circle. I can't speak for every market center in the world. Yeah, but that's very interesting study, and you know, I think you know, as humans, we all have an ego.
Sure.
You know, and that right there, you know, is challenging, and you know, and I think that with, you know, like more of a concrete example is, you know, sometimes there's an indie that just doesn't have the same culture as KW, and you know, and most mergers fail because of culture.
Right. That's a great. I love that you say that, because once again, you know, culture is just a word, okay? And if you've always run your business like an indie, okay? The idea of, you know, working with other agents that are technically competing with you, right, is a tough mindset to get past, right? So they don't always embrace the culture and the systems and the models, even though they've partnered with us. The real growth happens from embracing the KW model and the culture, right? Yeah.
So that's one. Two are the just simple straight up finances. Sometimes the way the indie is structured financially, it's just not compatible with the KW model. I mean, we have a whole system in place on how to effectively grow your team. And for me, the way I translate an indie into the KW model is, all right, if they're doing $30-40 million in volume, and if they have like 30 agents, in my opinion, they're just like a normal team in KW.
Yeah.
And we know that if you're doing $30 million, you already hit a first ceiling and need an assistant.
Yeah.
So and I believe that this is a conversation that needs to happen before we even bring them aboard, because you know, because if you don't have this conversation, I would rather have that conversation and run the risk of them not joining, because if they do join it and if it fails, then they leave and it ruins our reputation, it ruins them. It's just not even worth it.
Well, so, let me ask you this. Are they coming over, a lot of these indies coming over as a team? And are they worried that maybe some of their agents are going to go out on their own now that they're at a company that teaches them how to be their own business owners? I mean, is that a concern for them as well, or no?
I would imagine so. You know, there is a point where I'm not, you know, in the meetings anymore. So I'm not sure how, you know, they structure it. But
I would guess that. Yeah, and I would just guess, I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off. I would guess that the conversation around profit share, right, which is, hey, you come to KW, obviously there's all those conversations about mergers and acquisitions, but there's got to be a conversation about the long game of, hey, this indie broker comes over, everybody they bring is going to be in their downline, and that has a substantial wealth building component to it over generations moving forward as well, right?
100%. And a lot of it is situational. You know, for instance, if you have an indie in open territory, and if they're influential in the area, there could be opportunity for partnering up with the market center.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so that's one aspect. You know, the other aspect is, well, we can help your personal business grow.
Right.
And then there's profit share, and then there's wealth building, and then there's, you know, there's so much more that KW has to offer.
But we get so caught up in just trying to get them here, right? That we don't talk about what it takes to then integrate. And so this is, and you've got a 6-class sort of process here. First class is, here are the conversations around that. Second class is, give me a sense of how the rest of the progression of your courses when it comes to an indie.
Yeah, I wish Michael was here, because he's
okay. I mean, and you can talk conceptually. I mean, obviously the other are the other 5 courses about how to retain them and help them grow, basically?
No, like the second course is like negotiations. The third
Okay.
course is onboarding. The
Gotcha.
other course is like, everboarding, keeping the promise.
Okay, gotcha. That's great.
There
That's
are
great.
different aspects,
I love that.
and
I love that.
and the finances too.
Okay,
Um,
super, super. That
needs
makes sense.
analysis.
Awesome. So what's next, man? I mean, I know that you're, the we both understand profit share is a long game, right? And that, you're probably, especially in a shifting market, might not be reaping the financial benefits as much of profit share today as you will in the future, right? But
Yeah, I mean, look, if we get this 1,000 agent firm to merge with us, that'd be
talk
huge.
about, so what's up with that, right? You're working 1,000 agent firm, yeah?
Yeah. So
What's that all about?
that's in New York City.
Okay. How did this
And
lead come out? How did you get it? How did you get this lead? What is this a cold call?
they tried to recruit me.
Oh, did they? Okay. So talk about that conversation. Yeah.
Okay, so they tried to recruit me.
Yeah.
They hired out a third party to do the calls, and I'm like, look,
Right.
I'm kind of happy where I am,
Yeah.
like I'm always open to opportunities.
That's great. That's great.
So he's like, okay, let me at least set you up with, he was also the director of growth for his
Nice.
company.
I love it. I love it.
So I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm always okay. So my mindset is I am always open to have a conversation
Right.
because logic. Let's pure logic, removing the emotions for a second. If there's another company, if hypothetically, in theory, there was another company that was better than KW,
Yeah.
business decision, I would for sure join.
I mean, I say that all the time. I say it in my class. I'm not loyal to KW. I'm loyal to quality of life, right?
Yeah, that's probably where I got it from. I probably got it from you.
Exactly. But the good thing is, look, you get it, man. It's a numbers game, right? It's about conversations and appointments. And so what's better than a cold call appointment? When you're cold called for the appointment, right? Yeah, exactly.
So we spoke about, it's funny, he had to apologize for rescheduling by an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, cool, yes. So what happened? Why did you just do it? I said, oh, it's interesting because like we just merged with like two other companies, so now, we're like, now we have like 1,000 agents. I'm like, oh,
wow,
interesting. Wow. It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Because, I happen to be the director of strategic partnerships and growth for my company, and we're also interested in merging. So then we spoke about the thrill of merging. We built rapport on that because we both liked it.
And this is recent, right? This is a recent conversation, or how?
This is a couple years. This is almost a couple years ago now.
Okay. So I mean, because you would say that over the last couple of years, your knowledge, right? Because you've been building this class with Michael, right? And your skills have increased dramatically. Would you agree, right? If you want to master something, you teach it. So you're probably a much better person at this than you were 2-3 years ago when that was happening, correct?
Yeah, and it was easier to have that conversation because I knew he wanted to recruit me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to play the offense. I would just have to listen to what he says.
Yeah.
And create a platform, create a situation where, like, because I use the script. I'm like, yeah, logic would dictate that if your company is better than mine and my company, is better than yours, then
we both owe it to ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So then this is how I concluded the conversation. I'm like, I have a crazy thought. Just entertain it for a second. Because we just established that made the best company win, in essence, is it crazy to put your owner and my owner in the same room and just see what happens?
Yeah, I love that.
So he's like, that's a good point. So within 24 hours, I'm on an email chain with him and the owners, and the owner asked, when can we meet?
Unbelievable, dude. I love this. Is giving me goosebumps, man. I mean, and obviously we want to temper our hopes and dreams for this conversion. But so this was a couple of years ago, the initial
we're still a lot of it is communication, a lot of it's the emailing back and forth, a lot of it's
Well, it's a shifting market. They're merging other brokerages. I mean, they got a lot on their plate, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're just trying to keep the lights on, probably at this point.
Yeah, with indies, to any. Okay, I just two things I want to say to an agent that's listening to this. please speak with your leadership before you call indies, because
Yeah.
you have to do this in conjunction with the leadership in the area
100%.
you're calling. That's
100%.
one. Otherwise, it could be a whole mess. And
Yeah.
and we, it could be a mess.
Absolutely.
The second thing is for leadership, just just be cautious and not being so overly enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they need us more than we need them, and to just bring them in without having a plan of action in place from beginning to end,
Yeah.
whatever that may be, it could be really hurtful, not just to them, but also to you.
And I love that you guys are, thinking that forward on this, right? Like that's because Michael has, he has obviously a lot more time and experience and knowledge than both of us when it comes to these things. And so that's what I love what you guys are doing. And because, look, growth is messy, man. And KW has faced that after the growth initiative, right? And look, we all love gross recruiting numbers, but I'm, call me crazy. I'm more into net recruiting numbers than I am gross, but we know it's a numbers game. And if you're not hitting your appointments and not getting your gross agents, you're not hitting your net. So look, you and I can talk forever. Okay. Obviously. But I want to give you a chance to, we're going to wrap this up. If a agent wants to take your class, or a market center wants to book you, or a region wants to book you guys, what's the best way to get in touch with you or Michael? Tell people how to get in touch with you or how to reach out to you and pick your brain, because I know you're a giver, dude, and you're like me, man. You're an abundant guy. If somebody reaches out to you, you'd be more than happy to talk to them, right, and offer some ideas. So how can people get in touch with you? How can they get to book your class? Tell them.
Yeah. First, I want to thank you for motivating me to teach it. I wouldn't have done this without you, because you put me in the right trajectory here and letting me use your platform to grow it using this Zoom.
Well, dude, hello, call me crazy. I kind of have a feeling you're growing the company that I have a huge financial investment in as well, right?
Right.
And so that's why I expected you to say yes to this interview, and why I expect you to say yes to when people reach out to you, right? Because we all stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And I wouldn't be here if people like Linda and Jimmy McKissick and Dave Jenks and Mike Brody weren't generous with their time with me. So no, and I appreciate that, man. I love nothing more than watching one of our younger agents, right, be purposeful about this, because I mean, guys, the youth in this company, the KWYP power, man, it's so untapped. I mean, that's, to me, to see what some of people like you and some of these top agents that are literally TikToking to $30 million a year, it just blows my mind. But we've got to be the preferred company for younger agents too, because we're a tech company, man. And this is where we're going,
Yeah. So so we have a Facebook page.
Okay. Sweet.
We created like a month ago.
Great.
So you could definitely reach out to us on the Facebook page. We're gonna put out
how do they find that? And I want you to post a link to that in the comment section.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And we have a Facebook group as well. It's a mastermind group, and every month we have a mastermind on indies.
Amazing.
And I also put down my cell phone number. I had an RD reach out to me from Central California.
So say all of that stuff, because this will be on YouTube as well, and it won't be in the comment section.
Yes. Okay.
So just tell everybody what the name of the mastermind, the page, the group, the phone number, the email, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah. So the Facebook page is called Unlocking Broker Alliances -KW. The Facebook group is called Mastermind Your Broker Alliances -KW.
Amazing.
My cell phone number is 212-470-6888. And my email address is arielrahmanov@kw.com.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. Dude, you're the man. I'm so excited to see what you guys develop next, and sort of the ripple effect that what you're doing is going to have on KW. I can't thank you enough for your time, man. And so make sure you jump back into the group and put all that information in the comment section. But man, you made your KWYP brothers and sisters proud today. You made me proud. I'm just so excited to see what you're becoming at KW. So keep it up, brother. Keep growing this company. Keep being driven by culture. And I can't wait to hopefully see you in Vegas in February.
Yes, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Buddy. Hey, thanks again, man. I'll post this. I'll give you a link on YouTube for this as well. But can't thank you enough, man. And just keep doing what you're doing, man. All right.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right, buddy. Take care.